Hello, 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 and welcome to another one line of code. I am One Lion, and TBD Gamer, you indeed were first. Thank you so much for the lurk. Hope your meeting goes well, and it's not a long stand up. Hopefully, it's just a stand up, and that's it. Anyway, hi, welcome to the stream. If you're new here, first time ever, we've been working on this project, financial management tracker. And currently we are in a redesign phase. So the part of the project that we're working on is mostly UI. And that's where we are. So I found out from last or after last stream that I had two windows open, two of the same browser, pretty much browser session. Well, a cloned browser session, because they're obviously not the same session if they're in different windows, different tabs, etc. Oh my. But I had made some changes to the pen and saved that, and then came back to it and thought that I was on the other window, and then I saved this one, and I was like, why aren't the changes that we made from last time showing up? So I made a couple changes to get the top bar to be as wide as the main content, and then saved, and then close the other browser. So anyway, that's where we're at. So we're going to continue on with this. One thing that I wanted to do was to figure out what kind of background and where to put the backgrounds on the sections so that they're split up. Again, I don't want to use hard lines. Another thing that would be nice is maybe getting a different scroll bar. So styling the scroll bar so it doesn't look so normal. I don't know. It's fine. It's totally okay. But like most pages now, most modern websites for their landing page, they don't really have, well, this one does, the thick scroll bars. They at least style them so that their color matches the theme. Apparently MSDN is okay with keeping the thick scroll bar, but making sure that, again, the theme matches. So that's probably what we'll do for now, just for this page. So we'll make a dark purple background on the scroll bar, and then we'll the last thing that I did, I think, was 2 or 3 or 4 for each section that is not a hero section. Is this all hero section? Why aren't you formatted? Okay, so this is hero section. All right, and then every section that is not a hero section got it a nth of type, even, or nth of type. Is that what I used last time? Nth of type is what I want. So even is going to be background blue for now, and colon nth of type odd background. Oh my goodness, I do this all the time. I think I'm putting the value for a property and I just put a dash instead of a colon. So weird. Orange. Orange is not a easy color to see, so I think I made it teal. Something like that. Yeah, and then we ran into this thing where there was this gap between sections, and I have no idea where that gap is coming from, because I don't remember making the grid, or I don't remember making a grid, period. App grid. Yeah, so there is no gap on the grid, for one. And the grid is on app. And as you can see up here, app has the header, main. We're ignoring the parallax background because that's display flex or display fixed, which means that it's going to always take up the same amount of space in the background. But yeah. So we have header and we have main. And so I've styled it as a grid area templates with 2 elements or 2 named areas in 2 different rows. So you can actually read this easier if it looked like this. But for main formatting, that keeps happening is it'll reformat itself to just be straight after the other. What do I? Excuse me. Sorry, 1 second. Oh, I see. I see. All right, so first thing is first. I want to do the thing that I just said I'm gonna do. What was that? Something about the scroll bar. Let's do the scroll bar first. Do I even remember how to change the scroll bar? Not off the top of my head. Nice. So let's find a sample of changing a scroll bar stylus. Okay, so we have a few elements on the scroll bar that we can target. We got the track, we got the thumb, we got the whole scroll bar itself, which is probably the wrapper on the scroll bar. And so because every these two can go together. Okay, so we make it thinner. Got rid of the up and down arrows, turned it kind of. So the background for the scroll bar is going to be based on our theme. So we'll probably need a style group for our custom CSS properties. Oh, if you couldn't tell, I'm a little exhausted. Yeah, exhausted. I don't know why. I feel fine, but my body is like on hyper anxiety mode, and it's like it's getting worse every day that I go to work. Oof. Okay, so scroll bar styles. FMT scroll bar track color, background color. And we'll need to come up with something clever for that. For now, let's just make it RGBA 000.1. I keep looking over at it as if it's going to change while I'm doing this, but we haven't used it yet. And then the other one is going to be FMT scrollbar thumb color. Which we will make our primary purple. The dark one? The dark one. We'll make it the primary dark purple, which is purple number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Number 9. Here it is. Okay, so probably this one, 200D29. So that's number 3. Beatles reference alert. Where? I don't know who they are. I've heard of them. Number 3. There we go. Nice. I may have been part of a Beatles band when I was younger. All right, now we can look at it happen. Nice. Oh. There is one more thing that you can do with scroll bars so that the content goes behind the scroll bar still. I used that song as a presentation in high school English class. It was not received well by the teacher. This one. So we're gonna do this. Oops. Bar. He shut it off mid-presentation. That's just rude. There we go. Okay. Can we do the thing where we make the background extend beyond the scroll bar? I want to do all of this stuff off the top of my head, but this is one thing that I do much less often than the rest of it. Extend content behind scroll bar. If the body's tag that's scrolling, if it's the body tag that's scrolling, then the width of each background strip can be set to 100 VW. Except that this might not be true in all browsers. Because right now the background that we are using is this parallax background. So this one. And we have the parallax background set to position absolute. Right. Right. And the reason I did this is because as we're scrolling, we're going to shrink it and have the background position change. Center. Is that a value? It was more to piss everyone off. I hated high school. So just center should give me everything that I need? Yeah, just center. It so feels like it's actually moving. I know it's not. We tested it. We verified that the background is fixed in place, but it does give the parallax effect without even needing to do any animation, just because of the way our eyes work. That's fun. We're still gonna parallax it, but and we have this open so that we can use this same technique that they're using here to animate the width of these animation range. And then it's setting the width and scale. Actually, yeah, the width and scale. And it's setting the scale of the text or of the whole element. It's really hard to tell when it's this small of a change, but I think it's the whole element that they're doing. But it's a pretty cool effect, and I think we can apply it to the height of the parallax container as we scroll. And we're just going to change the height slower than the actual scroll position. And hello, Junicus. Konnichiwa. Where's my water? Water. Hope you're having a fantastic day today. It's Wednesday. For those of you that don't keep track of what day it is, I tend not to. But streaming every other day kind of helps because I know if it's a streaming day, it's either a Monday, Wednesday, or Friday. Otherwise, I'd be completely lost on what day it is. Anyway, so that's a cool effect. So I got the thumb doing what I want. And you know what? The background is probably going all the way to the right, all the way to the edge. But what's happening is that the content inside of app is not going all the way to the edge. So don't I have, yeah, app is position fixed and set. Oh, we could try this. Tip 0, left 0, width 100 VW, height 100 VH, and that way, no, that didn't work. I was gonna say, in that way the content will fit to the entire width, but that's not what's happening. Duh. The scroll bar is actually only for the main content, so no good. Not what I meant. The thing that I actually meant to do was to put this width and height on main. Or actually just width. So if I make width 100 VW, then that should go behind the scroll bar. No? I'm gonna move this, oh, well, I guess I'll put it here. Give me the bottom so that I can click on it. Yeah, so main is definitely 100 VW. So what's going on with the elements inside of main not going behind the taskbar, or the scroll bar? I guess what happens if I make the width of all of the sections 100 VW? That doesn't change a thing. Wait, that's specifically hero section. Not helpful. Where is my section selector? I can't modify section selector. How dare? How about just section? Width 100 VW. That did not work. That gave me a horizontal scroll bar. Yeah, so I can't do it that way. What are you trying to do? Style the scroll bar so it's transparent or floating? Floating. Floating. And note that the scroll bar is specifically on main. Why is the header showing as selected? That's weird. I tried to save. Okay, so welcome back, TBD. How was your meeting? Hope it went well. So you can see that I definitely already have the background. The track for the scroll bar is transparent, and the thumb is changed color and shape. But what I want is for the content inside of main to stretch to the edges of the window. I almost fell asleep doing that kickboxing class last night. Has me wiped. But it's so good that you're doing it. Awesome. Get some physical activity in. Let me try this again. Where is main? There's app header. There's main. Overflow Y. And I don't think this is a thing. I don't think you can do overflow Y auto, overflow X visible. Right, and this needs to be on section. You know what though? I don't need an overflow Y auto on sections because they're not going to have scroll bars individually. So I can do width 100 VW, which gives me a horizontal scroll bar. Yep, there it is. So you can see it right here. But if I said overflow X visible, you want to try it? Overflow Y overlay? Why would overflow Y affect my horizontal ability? And is overlay even a valid value for overflow? Did I take too long for you, Junicus? Is that what the OMG was? Hidden scroll. Yeah. So what are the valid values for overflow? It's for writer. Did I miss a writer thing that you said? Doing good. Good to know it's Wednesday. I'm actually having trouble tracking because of the overnight installations. Having trouble tracking what? Oh, TBD said to Junicus. Oh, jeez. I'm keeping up with chat. I told you I'm a little out of it today. So TBD said to Junicus, the next writer release comes with Blazor Hot Reload. Odds on it actually working next Monday. I mean, it doesn't really work in Visual Studio as it is. At least not the way you would expect it to. It does work, just not as intended, I don't think. 0% says president, not sure. Anyway, I'm looking for the values. Guys, the very first thing you should give me are the valid values for the property that I'm exploring. Oh my gosh. Visible, hidden, clip, scroll, auto. Yeah, so there is no overlay. Chrome thing only, maybe. Yeah, this is the actual MSDN. It's the legacy value alias for auto. So overlay is not really a thing anymore. But there was another scroll bar specific thing that I had to use in the app so that the content would appear as if it went to the edges and not shift. Nope, that was a different situation. So the situation that I had is I have a page that has a whole bunch of cards on it. And one of those cards got a scroll bar. And when you got the scroll bar, it shifted the content left. And I needed it to take into consideration the scroll bar's width in the width calculation. Yeah. Or the sizing calculation. But hello, Florida boy. I mean, Florida bee. Florida Toby. Oh my gosh. Words, help me. I am broken. Yes, it is. It is unwelcome, unsuccessful, terrible, horrible, no good, very bad thing. I'm doing my annual harassment training while we're streaming. So anyway, the thing that I am, yeah, elements shift when scrollbar appears, but that would be a search term for the issue that I was having. So thank you for that. I did resolve that one with a CSS property. The one that we're trying to tackle currently is I want the content to appear behind the scroll bar. Or in other words, the scroll bar to be floating on top of everything. And hello, Thindle. Oh, geez. And as a responsible streamer, I will first shout out TBD Gamer. TBD Gamer streams every weekday around 7 a.m. Eastern time, which is UTC minus 4 currently, and that would have been 6 hours ago for those of you responsible AI. True. No. Anyway, he streams .NET development on Mondays and Tuesdays. He works on a community project called Water Drink Water where we can contribute. He's currently working on the authorization portion of it and being able to provide the content, the authentication state as he navigates between pages. So we're looking at that. Yes, it's something like scrollbar gutter. That's exactly what it was. I'll look for that, definitely. But Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, he works on a project management application, as in he is developing a project management application that is geared more towards developers. I think he called it Silverlight. No, not Silverlight. He has a cool name for it, but he hasn't used it very often. I heard it for the first time today because I happened to be listening. So he can tell us what the code name is for it. Liquid Sky. Thank you. I will not compare it to Silverlight, I promise. So anyway, that is also a .NET project. He's using Angular for the front end. Love me some Silverlight, says Snubble FS. Gosh. All right. And then the next shout out, since I think I was talking long enough, is to Thindle, another .NET. Oh, 2 seconds. Another wonderful, not just another .NET developer, another wonderful .NET developer who works on modernizing an e-commerce app, went from web pages or Yeah, ASP pages, classic pages, web pages, through .NET Framework, MVC stuff, .NET Core, and incorporating some Blazor with it as well. And you know me, I love Blazor. Would love to hear something great. Absolutely. Please share. Another day, another migration, by the way. True. And I will do a shout out for Irish John because he's the one that informs my when I'm supposed to say true. So we'll wait for the shout out cooldown. But Irish John is a game developer working on Rise of Piracy. He's being published by Microprose. You can check him out on Steam. You'll see the messages showing up every now and then. Here's one of them. 2 R's, 3 R's, 3 R's. Okay, so check on scrollbar gutter. This sounds promising. Okay, paragraph 1, 2, 3. Okay, browser determines whether classic scrollbars or overlay scrollbars are used. We want overlay scrollbars by turning on scrollbar. Yeah, I had to use stable. That's exactly the keyword that I had to use. And then I had to tell it whether to pretty much make a gutter on both sides so that the content doesn't get pushed the way that it got in the other app. This one, I'm sure one of these is going to be the ones that's going to give us the overlay. Over here it is. Okay, so right here. Wait, what? For reference, this image shows the same div as above. Excuse me, but when the user settings set to overlay scrollbars. Note here, the scrollbar will only show when the user is scrolling and on top of the content, so no space is reserved for it, and the scrollbar gutter property has no effect. But didn't you say that the scrollbar gutter... Oh, the browser determines. What I really want, I don't care about the shifting. So I keep talking about the shifting thing, but that was my work product that had that issue. Here, I'm not worried about that so much. I am wanting to style this such that the background color of my sections goes all the way to the edges. So these are placeholder background colors, of course. You can definitely see that the content, the way that I have it, is going to the edges. And that's with this width 100 VW, but it's said that the browsers are the things that control whether the scroll bar is floating. Let me read this again. The browser determines whether classic scroll bars or overlay scroll bars are used. Do you mention the difference up here? Scroll bar gutter, reserve space, prevent unwanted changes. Element scroll bar gutter is the space between the inner border edge, the outer padding, where the browser may display a scroll bar. Scroll bar, no. Create a gutter when overflow is scroll. or when overflow is auto and the box is overflowing. Yeah, that's what auto does. And then stable always preserves the gutter. But there is no actual setting using scrollbar gutter to indicate to the browser we want floating scroll bars or overlay scroll bars. This was just a message telling us that. But now that we know, how do we force overlay scroll bars? We use a CSS class and JavaScript. This is not helpful. I'm going to rate this one down. If you're going to do this, include a link. Oh, okay. I retract my statement. You included a link to the overlay scroll bars library or example. Oh, what I don't get is how is something do you want to run some experiment? Check Chrome flags and search for scroll. Okay. Oops. Normally Control F takes you to the search bar in Chrome settings, so that was weird. But it didn't. Overlay scroll bars, enable. Save. I have too many windows open for this thing to restart. Give me a second to make sure everything is at a place that I want to restart. Oh, no worries. I'm definitely not blaming you for it. Not one bit. Right, there it goes. Here, come back. All of my windows. I didn't know that I had to close down every single session. I thought it was only going to be the Better Kitty browser. Oh well. It's fine. It's fine. It's fine. Now I have YouTube videos playing that are on hold. Well, just one because it was only the active tab. Okay, where are we? Not that one. Yes, you. Am I playing around with LLMs? Oh no. We're gonna get an error 500. Right click, powered shell. I ran into an issue. I'm sorry. He says, don't make fun. I mean, it says, don't make fun of me. Give me 20 seconds and I'll give you an answer without answering in an answerable kind of way. Okay, floating. It did not automatically get this thing to go floating with the flag turned on. What does it look like in Firefox? Yeah, it floats in Firefox normally. However, the targeting the scroll bar itself did not work. So that's interesting. As in changing the scroll bar thumb color, and the background is, yeah, even the background. So Firefox does automatically, oh, it's an ad. Firefox does automatically turn on overlay scroll bars. The Chrome flag, feature flag, didn't. Odd. Okay, so you're running. I go to this page, and actually I'll show you what I'm doing. So this is Ubabooga's text gen web UI. So what if I turn the track completely off? All right, I'll do that. And I am going to load the model, the bloke, open Orca. Load. Now look at how fast it loads. The 7 billion parameter model. And I know you're like, oh, it's still loading, but I mean, this is really fast for loading an entire LLM running locally. So anyway, it's running now. Running. Okay, automated realms. So the first response usually takes a minute, but it does. And there you go. So, short answer, yes, I'm playing around with LLMs. I've been wanting to figure out how to add RAG to this LLM so that we can have more context-aware content generated by the LLM. So things that are specific to our stream, mostly the chat history and things that we've discussed in the past, or all of that stuff. Is there a way to not see blocked messages in Discord, even the I blocked messages thing? I haven't messed around with that, so I don't know. Does anyone know anything about that? All right, let's make this background completely transparent. Which is where? Here. Track color, transparent. Okay, it is completely transparent now, and nada. Now we can see the scroll bar here. That's thumb color. Here. Why are you saying FMT scroll bar track BG color is not defined? It's right here. Transparent. It was worth a shot. And we can see it happening. We can see that the changing this definitely affects the scroll bar's thumb. Let's make it something more noticeable, like orange. Orange. There. So we know it's working. Okay, well, that's not something that has to happen. It seems like, at least according to this MDN article, that it's up to the browser to decide, and CSS is not going to be able to fix that. That's sad. Okay, well, we're gonna move on from that because so there. I'm okay with styling it so that the thumb is purple and the background is transparent mostly. So the next thing I wanted to do is get rid of this gap in between my sections. I don't exactly know what's causing it. Maybe it's the browser, the way that it displays sections by default. And I need to tell it to have sections not be, not have a margin after. But if we look at a section, for example, this one, and we find the computed this thing. Yeah, what's going on? What? No margin, no padding, no border, and there's still a gap after it. So then you. And the other thing that I don't get is when I'm hovering over this element, why is the whole page lighting up like it's part of the selection? I don't get that. Probably because section. Yeah, it's probably showing that it's a section, I guess. Anyway, no padding, no margin, no border. So the only thing that I can think of that it is there is a grid gap or a flex gap. But this thing isn't even display flex. Main isn't display flex. Ooh, hello, iMcFly, unless that's a lowercase l. I'm new to .NET ecosystem. Is Maui and or Avalon used very often? I don't think Maui is. I don't know what Avalon is, but I tried using Maui for my work product. Oh, no worries. Thank you for the suggestions, Unicus. I will look at it and we'll try it. But anyway, I was trying to use Maui for our work product because it's a desktop application that we're using Blazor for it, but our application is very specific to Windows, and so everything that we do needs access to the Windows API or yeah, just something Windows specific. So the easiest way for us to move forward was to use WPF. However, I'm using Maui on the stream project. So here is the stream project. It's on it's on GitHub, open source. What would I want to use for cross-platform? Maui. Like, I don't have much experience with it because I've only been tinkering with it, but if you are planning on doing your UI in either XAML or Blazor, then I recommend using Maui as your application type to target all of the platforms at once. So once the project opens, I'll show you that. Avalonia is a UI framework like WPF for cross-platform. That's cool. All right, you have a chance. Can you try another experiment? Flags. If you have window style, try overlay scrollbar. Will do. I don't think I have window style. Select horizontal overlaying strategies. Yeah, I don't really want to turn that one on. It doesn't sound like something I want to have breaking stuff. Wasm Lazy compilation, I like that. There are a ton of things that say Windows. All right, let me catch up on chat and then I'll look for it again. So that we can just address everything and everyone all the time. So first of all, one thing that I said I was going to do is a shout out to Irish John Games, who has me saying a lot of phrases that he says because they're addictive, but he's also an amazing streamer and game developer. So definitely check out his content. He'll be streaming in about 1.5 hours. Check out Rise of Piracy on Steam. I had the link for it above, and or on the Microprose website, microprose.com. President not sure. If I do, is visible equals binding visibility that binds to, well, visibility. Because President not sure and Thindle were talking. Is there a way to see? Oh, I don't know. I don't know. But you were telling me what Avalonia is. There's that. The UI framework. Yeah, I tend not to use third-party UI framework. Well, what do you mean by UI framework? Is it like a UI library similar to what DevExpress or Syncfusion or Telerik would provide? Or is it a coding platform, kind of like Blazor or just writing regular XAML? Or like Xamarin Forms, for example. And then we'll talk more about using Maui for multi-platform here in a second. But yes, Maui Hybrid. And then I would assume so. If I do data context equals binding sub VM is visible binding visibility, it looks for sub VM visibility. So it changes the data context for the control inside of the parent. Okay. That seems less than ideal. Not exactly which thing sounds less than ideal. Can we please agree that that's not what you want to do? It is what I want to do. Just not in WP. Wouldn't you want to do this sometimes? Maybe I'm thinking of something else. Sometimes I want to bind to the current item, in the collection. For example, not the pages binding context, but I always forget if I do that some other way. All right, overlay scroll bars is an option that introduces chunky scroll bars from the looks of it. Yeah, it did definitely show up in Firefox as well. So maybe it is specific. Well, no, because Edge uses Chromium. I was going to say it's a Mozilla thing, but maybe not. In that context, I'd want to bind SubVM, blah, 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 like WPF, Maui, Xamarin Forms. Okay, so it is actually a way that you write your UI. Not just styles on top of your existing UI that you put some kind of style. Thank you for telling me. Real quick, then. The way that I'm using Maui is whenever I have been creating a project, especially if it is a learning project or a stream project, I try to include all of the application types just to show that I can use one UI for all of the application types. So in this case, my UI is a Blazor UI, and it starts at this app.razor entry point for everything. Then if I'm using a Blazor WebAssembly application, my client is pointing to that app.razor as the starting component, as the root component. If I'm using Blazor Server, then my host, or I guess it's layout now, is pointing to my host is pointing to app as the root component. And then if I'm doing desktop applications, such as an AWPF application, I use a Blazor Web View. And in that Blazor Web View, I'm pointing it to app as the root component. Same thing with UWP, which I haven't gotten very far in UWP. Not that I need to or anything, but I was testing out trying to get UWP to work in HoloLens. And I was first trying it through a direct project in a solution using the same UI that already existed, but I think I need to do it in Unity. There is a WebView 2 asset in Unity, but I don't know how to use it because I don't really know how to use Unity. And then finally, the one we've all been waiting for is the Maui project. And so the Maui project allows me to use, again, the same UI, same Blazor WebView control, point it to app, and then compile it targeting Android, iOS, Mac, Tizen, or Windows. And essentially, since the Maui project will produce a client application, something that's intended to be installed on a device, it acts very, very similar to the WASM's client, the WASM project's client, in that it uses HTTP request in order to do any backend service calls. It can establish SignalR client connections. It does authentication in very much the same way. I just give it the backend that it needs to connect to. Cool. So, is that an L on your name or an I? I McFly. I'm gonna pasta over here. And you're still not going to tell me because glyphs aren't on there. Let's put it here. Yes, it's a capital I. Glyphs, I meant serifs. Okay, so Junicus provided a link for what I described about sharing UI. Yeah, so there's a hybrid shared UI link here. And is it also similar to my setup, where you have a whole bunch of Blazor components, probably some entry point component, which in .NET 8 is called routes now, which is fun, instead of app. And then in the Maui project, main page, Blazor Web View, point it to routes. Yeah. So same setup, except here it is in a cleaner way. And using .NET 8 kind of looks like. Yeah, .NET 8. Cool. Diedrich is here. Hello, Diedrich. Says hello to TBD Gamer. And Matt's here. Hello, Matt. Hello, everyone else that I missed while I was rambling. I'm a rambling man. So yeah, so definitely feel free, iMcFly, to ask any questions you want about our development experience or anything that you want to share about what you're doing or trying to do or accomplish. Ask questions, provide feedback. You're definitely welcome to. Depends if you want to use Blazor. Oh, I need some clarity. Is C# used only for backend in full stack development? And the answer is no. Like, the simple answer is no. You can use it only for backend if you want. But Blazor has made it possible to control the UI using C#. So for example, let's say that I have a layout or an index page is what I said. No, the index page. Well, I guess, yeah. So there's some interactive components on this page. One of them is, here is a button that has a click handler, which if you have done full stack development in the past or just front end development at all, you know you usually use JavaScript to handle button clicks. In this case, we're sending this button click event to C#, and I have a code behind file that provides a C# method for what to do when that click happens. And so this thing calls a method in UI state called collapse flyout. And then anyone that's listening to changes in properties, so flyout visible specifically, this set field event, or not event, method will raise the event property changed with its name, and anyone that's listening to property changed will perform their C# property changed logic, which is usually well, filtered by that, but it's usually just an await invoke async state has changed. So one of these to say, hey page, there's a UI event that I'm listening for that will cause you to have changes in what you render. So please re-render. Another one that yeah, this is perfect. Another instance where I'm using C# but directly inside of the markup is a switch statement that says, based off of the entity type or entry type value, which is part of the route for this page, display this content or render this content. That's what I really mean to say. And BitGamey is here. Another fantastic, wonderful person, human being. BitGamey, one of my favorite peoples to hang out with on their channel. He's a great streamer, game developer, and just all around person. He's got some great interactions to play with on his stream. And he's also amazing at archery. Check that out. And possibly puppy. He likes to wear porker hats. I don't know about likes to. Nice using the iProperty change and iProperty changing. Yeah, so that's the one that I would prefer to use. The pattern that I'm trying to get used to is the observable pattern. So there's the observer pattern and the observable pattern, and that involves a real pub sub kind of thing. I don't like the way that I've used it in this app, or not I've used it, that it started getting used in my work product, and that was the pattern I was trying to follow because I hadn't looked it up myself, and I still struggle to every time that I try to look up the observable pattern. I know that you have the MVVM toolkit, community toolkit, to help you with that, but it all looks like it boils down to using iNotify change, property change, and iNotify property changing, but one element at a time. I don't know. I need to learn more about it, is what I'm trying to say. And does mine feel, or mine is kind of like MVVM. So I don't purposefully try to follow any patterns. I follow the one that seems to be based off of what I've experienced so far and the mistakes I've made. I've made a lot of mistakes. The one that seems to be the most maintainable and easiest to build on top of as well. And so it is kind of MVVM from what I've seen, MVVM with services, although one of the videos that I have queued is this one that Peter put into Discord. And I really want to watch this. I haven't had the opportunity to, but it's pretty much saying what I think is a service is not actually a service. Maybe. I want to know if my definition of service matches whatever this person's informed opinion is going to be. So anyway, point is, not purposefully trying to follow any pattern other than the one that I've established for myself that seems to be a really good way to make, as TBD Gamer made me aware of this term, a modular monolith. So it's all of this stuff that I need for my application to run in one solution, but each part can be pulled out onto its own. So all of these shared things, they're dependent on each other. So shared client depends on shared and shared server depends on shared, but these two don't depend on each other. Localizer is its own thing. I just decided to create that one. But that can have anything put on top of it. This is everything that you need. I think the name of the project for this, like if I was to put this all in one project, would be the .core project or .core solution. Everything that you need in order for the application to work. And then I have my UI layer, and then I have the actual applications for the presentation itself. All of which could be their own solution. So, yeah. Did I answer that? Does everyone typically use it? Some ORM? Typically. I can't speak for everyone, but everywhere that I've been that uses databases, for those of you that pronounce it correctly, use an ORM. I mean, I don't see why you wouldn't. Like, there are so many security concerns at the moment, although I will have to say one quick story after I mention this. But there are so many security concerns when you're using, let's say, JDBC connector or SQL client directly. And if you don't do things in the correct way, then there's just a lot of opportunity to open your app up to malicious actors. Before I say my story, I'm waiting to get your 9,000 points. Your 9,001 points. TBD Gamer responded to iMcFly's question saying, I wouldn't like to not use an ORM. Normally these days that involves Entity Framework. You could use Dapper. You could do whatever inverse N, one of the N ones. Like, you know, there's nhibernate and N something or other, but the one that Thindle uses, I don't think he's using Entity Framework. You can correct me if you're around, but yeah, EF didn't have the startup performance we needed, so we dropped it. Yeah, and that's what happened. I stuck with it because it was easy to use, and again, I didn't have to create my SQL parameters, and then here's my SQL parameterized query using SQL client. So I was happy with it, even though it was really slow. But they have made a ton of improvements. And again, I'll get to my story in half a second. Is SQL connection an ORM? So you can kind of count the SQL client as an ORM, but the thing that you don't get with SQL client is the strongly typed entities that are in your database. So all of the objects for your database are represented in C# in some way. So that's why I would say that SQL client isn't. It's just a way to connect to. It's a transport method, I guess. But iMcFly said to TBD Gamer, is that because complexity of queries or control? Oh, wait, I missed some up here. Sounds like Angular. As far as the observables, I mean, I do like the concept of observables. You say, hey, thing that is observable, I want to know when you are changing or when you have things that you want us to know about. And then that thing, when it has a change, it loops through all of the people that are listening and then says, tell them an event happened, .next, or whatever. And it happens in a thread safe way and all of that. So that's why I want to get into observables. iNotify property changed just happens. And I would say happens kind of willy-nilly. And so what you'll see, the pattern that I've adopted for all of my event listeners, which is anywhere that you see, I said willy-nilly. Dude. Where are my event listeners? Okay, all of my event listeners are async void. First of all, because the iNotify property changes interface has their events as actions. Yes. Nice shot. Oops, this thing. So these are essentially actions or delegates to an action. But you saw that it's delegate void, and I do async stuff. And the reason that I do async stuff inside of the handler is because if you do a state has changed inside of the event handler and the current thread that your UI is running on is, or that the event method call is running on is not the UI thread, then you'll run into, you can't update this because the thread does not own the UI or whatever the thing says. And so if you do invoke async state has changed, then that changes your thread context to the main UI thread so that you can do a safe state has changed. And so most of my event handlers have to do with refreshing the UI because something external happened that the page wouldn't automatically pick up as a reason that it needs to re-render. Hope I said that right. Yeah, so TBD Gamer was commenting on the video as well. What is the link? It is here. Bless you. Bless you, Dukasoft. I know that's how you sneeze, but it sounds a lot like a fart. Done at what is the link while I wait for work? Oh man, hopefully you have enough time to still watch it since I took so long posting it. TBD Gamer, is that because of complexity? So Dapper is another popular option. It's built for performance. Entity Framework is a lot more performant than it used to be, especially when you turn on the right options in the right situations. So using the as no tracking when all you're doing is querying, so query only stuff. When you turn on single query in order to prevent multiple queries from happening for a join or splitting up your query. And then there are libraries on top of EF, on top of Entity Framework, that help you do stuff like batch inserts in a faster way than add range, although add range has gotten faster as well. EF didn't have the startup performance. Yeah, so that's where I was getting at. Getting to, I should say. It gives that middle ground of being, Dapper gives that middle ground of being able to write SQL, so you have control, but maps to objects. Yeah, that is really nice. But Entity Framework also allows you to write your own SQL. So there is still the concept of SQL raw. It's just not as easy to use because not as safe, but they did try to make it safer. If you use interpolated strings, it will treat those as parameterized queries automatically. So just a thought about, whoa, I can read. So Diedrich says, so just a thought, how about C# for a front end and Django for back end? You can do it. So if you made a Blazor WebAssembly client only, then you can have whatever backend you want. Blazor client would usually connect to it using a HTTP client because that's just how it works. But then you can also have Blazor server, and I have no idea how to mix Blazor server, which would have, it'd be server rendered content that even the interactions go back to the server and still use another backend like Django. We have a small DB with just 500 plus tables and 10,000 columns, so I suppose we could get it to work. I kind of want to show the biggest one that I worked with. Is this the DDMS database? No. Okay, while that's opening. Yes. What was your overall score from that, Big Gamey? Your score was 35. But you still should get a lot more points for having so much airtime. TBD Gamer said to Diedrich, for me, the benefit of using C# on the front end would be the consistency of the development across front and back. You could certainly develop a Blazor app against any other API. That is not a bad idea. I can imagine using iProperty changed in any of the components that deal with cascading parameter state. Yeah, and I don't use cascading parameters. The one place that I used a cascading parameter, which made sense, was in a drag and drop component, where you have this wrapper component that is the drag and drop component, and then inside of it you have different possibilities for what each item inside of that drag and drop component could be. So I gave that thing its own state. So we know what order the items are in. We know if it's currently reordering from any of the other elements inside of it, but it's particular to that one drag and drop component usage, and state shouldn't be shared through the whole application for that one thing. But most of the time, the UI state specifically is whole client application injected DI. Did I reopen the same thing? I did that because I'm paying attention. I'm thinking of performance versus amount of data load. Yeah, so that, regardless of what ORM you use, will be a consideration. Entity Framework does have the potential to allow you to query for more than you need if the only thing you do is select star from this table. So you write a link query or a Lambda expression that equates to select star from this table, to list it, and then filter it, kind of thing, as opposed to filter, transform, order, and then materialize it. Just open it from disk. Nope. Connection manager. Yay! I have it. I have it cloned. Okay. So Foolish Schnabel was talking about there are 500 tables with around 10,000 columns. Here are the tables in this database I used to work with called DDMS. Which actually, what? Oh, no, this is a database that I created to supplement the main database. Oh, and that means that I don't have it cloned. Yeah, I don't want to clone it. I'm too lazy. But anyway, this is very small compared to it. There are like, I don't know. I can't even guess how many tables there are, but there are a lot. And one of the tables has pretty much the maximum number of columns allowed for a table. And in fact, I can show you how many columns that one has because this has the combined view for that table. This one. So we're starting on line 5. 109 columns for one table. And there are many tables like this. Fun times. I never understood why async void is not good. I suppose I should have a closer look. So async void, the super duper easy answer is your exceptions get swallowed. They disappear into the ether. They go nowhere. It's kind of like running a fire and forget version of your async method. Not a bad idea. Components cascading parameters. Angle must be between blah. Thank you, automated realms. I'm thinking of performance versus load. I never understood why async void is not good. So yeah, real quick, the reason that I absolutely love Entity Framework is you can construct a query over many lines and it won't execute until the very last thing that you do, which is typically toList or toList async or first or default or something that will actually enumerate your list. And so you can have a whole bunch of users come and hit your site, but it won't actually like try to get data from the database until you toList whatever it is that they need. There are also ways of using the like caching mechanisms for non-changing or non-frequently changing data. Really hard for me to say data. Yeah. Small DB, I work with tiny DBs, then although one table currently has around 100 columns alone. That was the link to Diedrich. You feel that .NET lacks performance compared to a Django app. Thinks I will catch it tonight while I wait in the office for the updates I'm doing. Yay. And then not really back to TBD Gamer, but I want the app to be light on data and not be too heavy on data consumption. Yeah, so there's a lot more techniques that you would want to get into. Are these ORMs not battle tested? They absolutely are. When Entity Framework first came out, there was a lot of stuff that just seemed like the developers of it saying, we need an ORM to meet our needs and to be specific to SQL Server so that, you know, it replaces SQL Client. And it wasn't really well thought out, in my opinion. I don't know for sure what it looked like behind the scenes, but there were so many things that just made it to where the translated link turned into something atrocious with a whole bunch of joins and a whole bunch of subqueries that just didn't need to happen. But since then, they've made a lot of improvements to performance, a lot of changes from actual feedback, feedback from actual developers. And one of the things that they recently changed was when you do a link query. Let's get back to FinanMan. See if we can find one of these inside of a service. Helpers. Nope. Let's just go to one of the services anyway. Transaction entry service. Let's say that I had a list of something in C#. So as you can see, this here is the starting of a query to my database, to my financial management database. And so if I had, oh, this isn't .NET 8, new, dude, just do this. We'll do it, whatever. A, B, blah, 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 blah. Imagine this is a list of things that I want to filter on. And then I added it to my query. So transactions equals transactions where new list contains, or more like account name contains. Oh, wait. Anyway, how do I normally do that? Whatever. I have a list. So anyway, what this used to do is it gave us an in back. So the dot contains translated to a SQL where account name in list of account name, or, parentheses A, comma B, comma C. What they changed it to is when you create a query like this, you get an OpenJSON object or an OpenJSON list. Entity framework.NET 8 OpenJSON. So now it looks like this. And so if you update your project to .NET 8 and you update your Entity Framework NuGet packages to .NET 8, anything that you had that was a .contains will now create this SQL. However, if your database doesn't support, is not compatible with 100 and version 130 and above, then you get errors. And the error is something along the lines of an error occurred in your SQL statement, could not understand $, or something like that. And so what they did is you have to configure, use compatibility level. 120 is the only one that worked for me. And people were like, just go to your database, do the query for figuring out compatibility levels per database. But this is the only one that actually worked to keep that from happening. Just write to temp table and do the query from that. Regardless, I mean, it's still going to, oh wait, that's probably part of a different conversation. I'll get to that in a second. But anyway, so I spent about an hour trying to research this because I wanted to use, or I'm upgrading a project to .NET 8 from .NET 6 with a whole bunch of Entity Framework queries. And yeah, it was just, oh. It was like, why would you make this a default feature when you know that there are so many pre-existing databases out there that are not compatible with OpenJSON? Instead of having everyone that's trying to upgrade to .NET 8 and using Entity Framework try to update their databases, which a lot of people just don't even want to even touch their existing database because they're like, if we do anything to it, it's going to explode. We're going to lose all of our data, etc., etc. How about making it an opt-in to use OpenJSON? Question mark. Anyway, that was my thought. That was my story. Okay, so still catching up. Our top 5 tables have 150 plus columns each. Are these ORMs not battle tested? They are. For instance, if a page loads 20 megabytes of data, slow networks will make the app hang. That's where you can use HTTP2 and async streaming. And so the page will load. Well, I guess one technique for that anyway, even without using async streaming, one technique for that is to load your page, asynchronously do your data load. So your UI thread still works. You definitely should be able to see that in any modern app where you load, the page loads immediately and it's still trying to load other content from that page. This is one of the apps that I'm changing over to .NET 8. So this is much slower than .NET 8, and oh my gosh, like the performance boost that I got from just using .NET 8 with pretty much the same code is insane. So like right now we would already be on the map. So you saw that the page was loaded even though the map was still trying to load. Same thing with if I try to run a report. And this is going to be a big report, so I'm not filtering on date. I'm still able, well, I guess the UI still looks like it's doing something, but I would normally still be able to interact with other pages while it's loading data. So this has to load a bunch of data, but I can still move around the page while it's loading data. You do have the scroll issue. I'm glad I saw that. So it wasn't just my .NET 8 remake of it. This thing is not supposed to overflow scroll on the main content. Yeah, great, good to know. So that should still be locked at the bottom, and then this content here would have its own scroll bar. Good times. Glad I saw that. So the fix that I did will make that a better experience for the user. Yay. Same thing here. No, this one does it correctly. Or only the report data. So anyway, that's just a point that is a UI development concern that has to do with making sure that whatever stuff is going to the back end to get information that it needs to download, showing pictures that are big pictures that might take a long time to download on the client. First of all, you have the lower quality versions in your list of images that it could display depending on the network connection speed, but also making sure that you aren't blocking the UI thread so the user never feels like the app is stuck or doing nothing. Second, so that you can start showing data right away, if you don't have the ability to use async streaming or a not robust, what's the other word? The one where if the connection fails, it'll try again. So being able to do retries and stuff. Then just doing small chunks of queries would be another option. When I get all of my lookup lists in this app, and there are a few of them, I do them asynchronously so that if I'm getting the list of analytes here, I can still also get the list of systems. And then within each system, I can still get the list of well groups or subsystems or whatever else. And those all happen independent of each other. And they can take as long as they want to take, finish whenever they want to finish, but my UI is still usable while I'm downloading that data. I said data. Okay, I'm not going to catch up on chat, am I? What else? Zephyr was created for and is used by Stack Overflow. It's pretty battle tested. I would have to say so. Table 17 is the first with less than 100 columns. Jeez. But it's only at 97. So not much less. Drag and drop, yes. And that is what I called it. It's in here somewhere. I know that I have it in here somewhere. On the basic one. There it is. Drag and drop samples. So yeah, you can see that I have this drag and drop container, what you want the items to look like inside of your editor, when it's being edited, when it's not being edited, when it's being dragged. And so you can see where I would need a separate state for this drag and drop component, because it's not just your simple, straightforward, here's a list of items, move them around, change their order or whatever. This one is like, here are complex objects that are being represented as an individual item, and I'm able to group them together in that more complex example. The SQL query builder, I also have these elements in between. Why aren't you letting me scroll up? That's weird. Anyway, I have these elements in between that tell me whether to and or the two groups that are next to each other. So yeah, it gets its own state. I can have multiple drag and drop containers on the same page and they each keep their own state. All the fun things. All the fun things. There always will be. Oh, wait. Yeah, okay, so I'll try to remember what this is in reference to. Probably a statement from above or a conversation from above. Sounds like there are a lot of vulnerability concerns. Yes, there always will be with SQL. Just understanding what risks there are is needed. Going with SQL connection and no ORM is way riskier. Yes. Thank you so much for supporting the thing that I said and saying it a lot more clear. We do generate all SQL expressions though, to at least avoid the silliest mistakes. Yeah, input validation is obvious, it's massive. Using parameters as one line of defense is another thing to consider. I think these ORMs also have a way to stream results so that if you are looking at a large data set, you can better handle. Absolutely, yes, definitely. So the cool thing about using this, what you get back here is an iQueryable. So why did I have to cast it to an iQueryable? Anyway, so you get an iQueryable back, and instead of materializing this with a to list, let me get rid of this thingy here. Come on. Okay, so instead of materializing this here at the end with a to list, if I wanted to do a yield return, then instead I would do for each var per paged result in paged in transaction.order by, and all of this stuff here. Yield return. And so, or yield return that thing. And so I would be constantly giving back one record at a time from this database query. The problem that I ran into before, and that you would run into as well if you're using an API, for example, that fired this, is that the HTTP session would be finished before you finished using the context, the database context. And so down here, the database context would have been disposed. Therefore, this query is still running, but is going to be like I don't have a database context, a valid database context. So when you're doing it, you need to make sure to keep this session or instance of your query alive for the duration of sending back all of the results. And that happened to it. That didn't happen to me because I was trying to do an IEnumerable of, which would be our async streaming. Instead, what I ended up trying to do was get rid of my async, because the only place that I had used the async call was at the very end. And so why not just return the task to do that thing? And that's why, because the database context is invalid by then. Of course, here, no, I'm using a DB context factory. There it is. I thought that I was still, by this point, in the habit of injecting the DB context in my service every time, which gives you pretty much a new DB context on every call. Or if you're running in server mode, you reuse the same DB context and overload it. It's like, this DB context is already in use. I thought .NET kills exceptions with, so I can't, I don't want to talk too much about the way that .NET handles threads, because I don't know the intricacies of it. And I'm not super interested in knowing the intricacies of it. But I just want to make it clear that I don't know what it means for .NET to kill threads without exception handlers. Yeah. The system we migrate from, we have enabled 1024 columns as several tables in the, yeah, we're still leaving it at whatever the default is, 124, I want to say. As several tables in that system have close to 1,000 columns. That's insane. It doesn't have that many tables though. Yeah, a very wide. So have you recommended to them using a columnar database as opposed to the tabular ones? I don't know how to implement them or use them. I just know that they're a thing. The old DB also has great table names like EFAC with 707 columns. I guess this is electronic invoice. Been in much worse situations, at least. It's not spread across 50 databases. Ours is... Do I have any of them? Yeah. So these are my local copies of the databases that I used to work with, along with, you know, my own stuff that's in here. Let's see, which other of these? Okay, yeah, so these are all of the databases, not database tables. These are databases that the Rocky Mountain Arsenal uses. There we go. Oh, some taco. So all the ones that are selected currently are used by the Rocky Mountain Arsenal. Anyway, these are my local ones. Here is the database that I was trying to show you before. So these are the amount of tables, and these are only tables in this DBRA database. And the documents table, as I showed you before, has not very many. DTS. There. Oh. Well, the documents plus DTS, this often gets joined. So combine those columns. RRP? Not many. Bibliographies. Anyway, you get the point. Lots of tables. Some of them have tons of columns. I guess it wasn't as many as I thought. But because they are always getting joined, like this table, this AR, this APF, DTS, drawings, PMC, RRP, they all get joined to that central documents table. and then all of these satellite tables that are lookup values for each document. Oh, not fun. Are you thinking of making a query that explodes and queries the whole DB because it's poorly written? Like, am I planning on it, or is whoever you're asking planning on doing that? Snubble, are you planning on doing that? It kind of sounds like you're asking, are you planning on doing this? And hopefully you have a SQL Server greater than 17 and aren't stuck with 2015 for some incredible reason. The one that I don't like is that for whatever reason, this database was created with character set Latin, and everything else is using whatever the standard is. And so any queries from another database to this one, that the tables from that database join with this database need to have the collate language collation. That one, oh, that's my script. One of these. Yeah, here. So you have to collate any of the string fields that are getting joined together when you're comparing them to each other. And yeah. Again, more not fun. Just write the IDs to a temp table and do the query from that. Yeah, I'd have to think about that. I don't know that that's faster than the way things are currently working with the new OpenJSON syntax. I kind of like that, but I actually have not worked with temp tables in Entity Framework, but I know you can. But that would have been a better way for me to use the here's my C# list and I want to do a .contains this other thing. Yeah, if OpenJSON is not available. I still don't mind using the in for those few situations where I'm using the .contains. But I think it would be a better approach to do it that way, Snubble. I just don't know how to use temp tables with Entity Framework. Yeah, anyway, I like that. I actually did call it drag and drop. I did. I always call DB blocking in the VM paint message handler. That's because you write C and C++. What is this app about? Which app? Which app? Which app? The Blazor component library one from my GitHub? Or the map one? What is going on? Who's saying hello? I'm way up too high. I did miss Softas and Software's message. Another fantastic streamer that I want to do a shout out for. He is an Office add-ins developer, and he's been using Blazor to create Office add-ins. Such cool work, amazing stuff. I love watching it. You love to see it. Blazor used everywhere, but again, even though I talk highly of Blazor, it's not perfect. There are learning curves, and there are plenty of things that you can critique about it that are negative. But I've had so much fun writing everything in Blazor and being able to do everything that I want to do in Blazor. So I will say good things about Blazor most of the time. I wanted to find that Softas and Software message though that I missed. Which I can't search this window. So was it within the last 100 messages? All that I have is your emote. But I know that you said something a while ago that I was looking at. I wanted to answer, but I was in the middle of one of my random spiels. If you can you repost it? Just push up on your keyboard a couple times in the chat window. Okay, I need to figure out where I am on chat anyway. Love me some temp tables. What I love most is when the collation of the master temp and the actual DB don't match. That's gonna happen with that ARM AED table every time. Drink of water. Oops, I missed that. Is it loading data? Sure is. All right, so what is this app about? I'm assuming it was the RMA water application. You may or may not see that in the near future. So stay tuned. I've been stuck for a while trying to work around the dilemma where people have slow or limited internet connection. Yeah, I remember. It's pretty rough in South Africa. Some places still run on 3G. Just tell them to get better internet. You just need a few more drones flying over. That's all. Skynet for the win. I'm glad you noticed the as queryable thing. Yeah, that was weird. I don't really know why I did as queryable at the end when the .where should give me back an iQueryable. I used to develop mobile apps for, this is TBD Gamer saying this, I used to develop mobile apps for field service technicians that may need to upload data once a day or may have sent data in the field. Challenges are certainly abundant. I've yet to tinker with actual streaming data. So I have that. I showed you the failed HasTrack demo. The one that you're able to use with or without an internet connection is a PWA. It uses local storage to that it already failed. It uses local storage to store any new records that you're trying to log, because this is an app for a wildlife refuge. And so you could have it on your phone, you're walking around, you see something that is a hazard or a good safety practice, and you want to log it. You don't have internet, but you still load the app, fill out the information, push send, walk away, and the next time you get internet, it'll upload using this. When it disconnects, it does this checking every 20 seconds or so. Is there internet? Is there internet? Or if you have it installed as a PWA, I could just hook into that device's notification thing that says internet has been reestablished and then send the message that way. What else? ¿Qué más? Dial-up is super fast. As he says that slowly. But it's been my mission to try and create a web app that will function smoothly on a 3G mobile data. I mean, that shouldn't be too difficult if you're using Blazor Wasm. I'll say it that way. I mean, there are plenty of technologies that you could use to do it, but Blazor Wasm absolutely makes it easy as long as you can get the app downloaded. So the very hard part of Blazor Wasm is that initial download, and for slow connections, 230 megabytes or 3.6 megabytes even is way too much. So. But once it's downloaded and you have that Wasm runtime, that .NET runtime on your machine, or for that app, and it's really, really good. Like all of my GitHub pages are Blazor Wasm apps. So this component library one, this is Blazor WebAssembly. And so if I disconnected this, I would still be able to use this, except for getting these pictures, which came from some sample image repository. but everything else would work because it's now loaded into the browser and running only in the browser, aside from these images. So Schnabel says they are using a COBOL-based database that is 40 years old. I don't think the width of the tables is a problem in that DB. Also, they don't write new stuff for it. So it's a read-only database, a sunset project. But yes, columnar datasets are useful if you have a wide table. I worked in big data for a while. One dataset had 10,000 columns. That was a hard limit. JVM crashed if we went wider. Good grief. Am I the only one using one database? No. Financial management uses one database. But yeah, I guess for my work products, when I was working at the Rocky Mountain Arsenal, it was, you saw how many there are. It was all of these databases. And for the most part, each of these correlated with a single application. The one that had multiple is DDMS. And then there's some overlap between a few of the applications. So RMA Water to RMA ED, RMA Chain of Custody to RMA ED, RTrack to RMA Chain of Custody and RMA ED. Right, forgot about that one. STrack to RMA ED. A lot of them depend on RMA ED. But definitely STrack to RTrack. Anyway, you get it. You get the point. I'm going to have to try to catch up soon because I need to end the stream so I can get back to work. I'm going to try and move a database from a SQL Server 2012 to Azure SQL. Good luck. Can't even use all the features in EF8 with SQL 2012. It's too damned old. I like MariaDB. It just feels better than SQL Workbench. Cool. I use MariaDB for our offline MMOs, our emulators, and we use SQLite on them specifically, and dbeaver to do the database maintenance and stuff, database management stuff. Such as, for example, anything to do with JSON. Yeah, so that OpenJSON thing was a shock. I was like, why is this query not working? The only thing I did was upgrade it to .NET 8, same code, but I see. .NET 8, Entity Framework 8 uses OpenJSON for .contains. Got it. And you have to opt out if your database is not compatible, or upgrade your database. Beyond me mixing up when I need at or not in tag attributes. I love Blazor so far. Oh, okay. So whenever you're confusing when you need to use the at symbol. Granted, I'm still a Blazor noob, but you're playing with it. I'm a fan of that. Hidden features, yes. Today at least, the ledger accounts were good, but instead we had problems with the supplier repository. Dirty Dukesoft. Dirty. Supplies repository, just point them at the closet. Yeah, the water app. So you may see more of that in the future. Starting in about 2 months. That message is about an hour old though. Yes, many of them are. Look, must be a Blazor app. There's a yellow bar across the bottom. Shush you. It's true though. Time flies when you're having fun. It says soft as in software. Maybe that's the message that I saw, but that was after you said what's up, isn't it? I think so. It was good for us in 1998. I have developers on my team that are like, you know, this is how we used to guard against XYZ in 1998, how we used to do thread management, how we used to do memory management in 1998. And it's like, we've come a little ways from that. We don't need to do it that same way. In fact, you're opening up more possibility for thread locks, this thing that you are trying to guard against by trying to do thread management manually than you would if you just let .NET manage it. Granted, we do use a lot of resources that are unmanaged, so we call into the Windows API a lot. I think I said that already. So TBD Gamer's back for another, gone for another meeting, streaming. He's gonna stream again. No, he's gone for another meeting. Can they switch from OpenJSON to OpenXML? Probably. WAP, the mini website thing. Dendo remembers. Messed up my funny. You're funny. Early 2K. WAP was hot. I see. Got it. Okay, so anyway, that is time for me. I don't know, did we even take a step forward with this? Yeah, we styled the scroll bar. That's about it. I wanted to get rid of this space. I have no idea where it's coming from. If any of you are interested in looking at it, and just being like, it's that, dude. I don't even know how to share this. Do I just share this link? Yeah, I'll share this link. If you want to find out where these gaps are coming from between sections, please let me know. If you don't feel like doing it, we will figure it out. But yeah, that. And then the other thing that would be nice to have is in Chrome, because it works in Firefox, in Chrome having the scroll bar overlaid on the content so that the backgrounds will span the stretch the entire way. Wow, wait a minute. It's that dude. So anyway, that's what we did. But Friday, we will have a community day where we will work on the bot remake. So I have a bot for the stream, as you saw, Automated Realms. It responds to commands. It, I don't know what else it does. It has the archery game, but we want the bot to be something that I am okay with sharing and open sourcing. So I started recreating the bot, making sure that when we set it up, it's got good architecture, whatever that means. Wait, look at this. What about this scroll bar? This is Chrome. Is it because this is a text area? Probably. Yeah, how did I do this? I think I've already tackled this problem before. Or this is the experimental feature that Tunic has pointed me to. Anyway, so we have the bot. I'm gonna remake it in an open source kind of way. It'll be on my GitHub. Feel free to check out my GitHub. It's messy. There is a component library on there that has usable patterns. I wouldn't say the components themselves are robust enough to be used everywhere, but they are pretty customizable, easy to style. At least I hope they're easy to style. We'll work on them in the future as well. Anything else? Okay, I will definitely check out that video. Speaking of YouTube, I do post my VODs to YouTube after the stream at some point in time. So it used to be no sooner than 24 hours after, but that's not a thing anymore. Twitch allows you to post your content to other platforms immediately after. Used to be that you had to have it be Twitch exclusive as an affiliate for 24 hours. Not anymore. So I'll post this to YouTube at some point in time. And other than that, I'm kind of interested in watching this some more. And I don't see my friends. I could be wrong. Hold on, give me a second. Give me a second. Oh my gosh. Hold on. So, person that I typically like to raid after my streams is Big Gamey. He usually starts streaming right around now, but he's not currently streaming. I also lurk on Sedlix, and Code Red Games is streaming. But the one that I want to take you to, because I mean, who doesn't love this part, is Tim Bodette, who is building a PC. I got pushed to tomorrow. No worries. Please don't feel like then just you have nothing to apologize for is what I'm trying to say. I don't want to make you feel any kind of pressure to stream. You stream when you want to stream. I will be there if I am available. I love watching your streams and hanging out with you. I've said it a million times before. And I really do mean it. So, for now, we're going to raid Tim Bodette. Make sure I spelled his name right. He is building a PC. Softer Than Software says, I was watching Sedlix Monday. He had 1 million dialogue hypertrain. I said hypertrain. It was a hypertrain, wasn't it? He got to level 12, I think it was. It was crazy. I kind of had to mute his stream because I just can't. Anyway, it's time for me to start doing this. It started. All right. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your day. I'll see you the next time you're around. I will be around on Friday for Community Day. Also, if ChatGPT could start working again, that would be great. Switch to Gemini when you can't use ChatGPT. Okay. Outro music. I don't know how to do outro music. Ba-ba-da-ba-bum-bum-bum. I don't know how to do outro music, so I'm making my own. Da-da-da-da-da. Bum-bum. Do-do-do-do-do. Do-do-do-do.